Welcome to all of our viewers. My name is Carmen Mazzara, and I serve as Executive Director of the Coalition for American Public Diplomacy and Leadership, or as we typically call it, CAPDL. CAPDL is very pleased to bring you another one of our webinars helping to strengthen and expand the Bridge USA space across all 13 categories. Today, we're talking about the wonderful secondary high school student exchange program and some particular best practices about how we can welcome the next class of students as they begin to join us in the US from all over the world for a transformative time here as high school students. We are joined by an alumna of the program, Enza Francois, who studied abroad in Vacaville, California. She came from Belgium to have a transformative experience, as she'll tell us more about. And now she's back at home in Belgium as a law student, hoping to study international law as she progresses in her career. We're also joined by CAPDL member Laurel Sapp, who is a local coordinator based in Idaho. And Laurel will help talk to us about her role both in hosting students as well as coordinating among all of the other host families. So I have some key questions that will let us jump in and kick everything off. And my first question, Laurel, is for you. Can you talk to us a little bit about how you're preparing to welcome students for this year, and if there are any opportunities or challenges in particular that you're anticipating?
Well, I would say we're preparing the same as we have, but maybe there's a little, I mean, there's always a focus on person to person, but maybe it's even more emphasized this year and really getting to know students from other countries and learning about them face to face with all the rhetoric and some of the politics that are happening right now. We've had different questions people have asked. Some people are hesitant to host, not sure. But I think this year it's even more prominent that these kids are ambassadors from their countries and then ambassadors coming back from their country for America and sharing what they're learning. So really honing in and focusing on that relationship and person to person and meeting the families and the school and the community.
Could you tell us a little bit more about how you're planning to do that with hosts and with students?
Well, um, we always promote that anyway, so I think we're focusing on it a little more. We did our group host family orientation a few weeks ago, and the question was brought up, are the kids safe this year? And I said, yes, of course, they have the proper documentation and they can even have it on them if they need to. And families seem content with that and just kind of highlighted saying, hey, they're going to be able to share what they're learning in person and with the schools as well, just sharing with them and making sure that they're prepared for the student coming. And, our grants kids do their presentations about their country culture and they come prepared. We try to encourage our regular program students to do that as well. And we're going to really push that this year and getting those presentations where other kids can ask questions and just sharing a little bit more and really pushing that maybe more so than we have.
Thank you. Enza, is there something you wish your host family or host school had done to prepare for your arrival? And is there something you wish you had done to prepare yourself?
Well, when I went to the United States, I first went to New York for the orientation. So I got a really great orientation about high school and what to do in case anything could happen. So I really appreciated that, and it was part of the process, I think. When I arrived, my host family was really open-minded and really asking questions about where I was from and really willing to know more of my culture too, which was great to make me comfortable as well. About the school, I did not have a lot idea of what was going on in the United States specifically. So I would maybe have liked maybe a high school buddy who could have helped me to visit the school or telling me about the classes that I should have chosen. So yeah, that was really I had to change the classes I had chosen when I arrived because I did not get what, for example, AP classes were. I didn't know. So yeah, maybe a little bit more of that, which is maybe before something I had to do before Um, I left, so but besides that, everything was really great, and yeah, I don't think there's something else.
Could you tell us a little bit more about the orientation that you had? What was so helpful about it? And was there any part of it that was maybe less helpful by the time you were there? You were muted, ma'am.
Excuse me.
Mhm.
So the orientation was really about what to do in extreme situation, with the host family at school, etc. So that was helpful to have all the phone numbers, knowing what to do in case something happened, like medical, speaking too. So all those little details about how we have to do things and the process of doing things was really helpful because it's different in each country. So I remember that was really helpful. Um, now, now they did not really talk about. It was really remembering and remind everybody the rules of the program too. Um, Maybe talking more about how school different in every state. I know that, but yeah, maybe how school is really, what classes are the AP classes, for example, little details like that that we don't know because it's different really for everybody, would have been more helpful, I think.
Laurel, as you're helping to get students oriented and the community oriented and the school oriented, what are your processes for introducing each of those communities to the program and getting everybody settled in?
Yeah, we try to connect with each student with the school if possible, by finding out who their guidance counselor is going to be, and sometimes depends on the school, but some schools are willing to start emailing with the student, connecting with the student ourselves, of course, and trying to see what classes they might want, tell them a little bit about their school, their community, their family. Some students reach out more than others, but we try and preparing the school as well to make sure they know. I like to email and say, hey, they're coming on this date, just to give them that update, and then helping them get set up to, if they come before school starts, where they can go and meet with the guidance counselor, get their classes, see a little bit of the school. And most of our schools are really good about trying to have a buddy or somebody that first day, to help them and show them around, because that certainly makes them feel welcome. And just letting the staff know when they're coming, they're going to be here, who they are, kind of being prepared for that. If they get here before when the school has an open house, many of the schools will do that. That's great. But if not, and they come later, we communicate with the school, hey, they're going to come the first week of school, and prepare them to meet with the guidance counselor. Maybe that first day kind of be an easy day, even if school's already started, where they can, see where their classes are, meet people, and try to help them, answer any questions they have. And it goes great when we do get a hold of them ahead of time and they come before school starts. But we work with them. Some of our grants kids, they come 2 weeks after school starts, but just open communication, make sure that the school knows, and the student knows, and help them prepare them ahead of time.
And have your processes for orientation changed over time? Are there any lessons that you've learned from things going great or things going less than great?
I think we learn every year. I think we learn something new to add to make it go better. We one year I was able, and every year I haven't been able to. But every single kid I coordinated, I connected them with the other students that were coming. They loved that, so they got to kind of know some other kids are going to be in their area, and I always make sure the school knows. We do also do an orientation after they're all here, and some have started school, some have not, and just trying to see how it's going, check with them, make sure we're available. So yeah, anytime we learn anything new, we'll add it in there. Just, I think, as the student was saying, I see that the more they know in the beginning, the less nervous they are. And so just trying to make sure it's okay to ask any questions and make sure they have that connection, with their coordinator, and hopefully with the school before they come.
To build on that, Enza, how do you like to receive information? Do you want all of it up front? Do you want it in bits and pieces? And how would a local coordinator or a family know how to best transmit all of the things you need to know without completely overwhelming you?
Well, I think having everything would be not overwhelming. well, so I got my host family in March, and I was leaving in August. So I got a lot of information at that moment, and it was a lot, I remember. But I arrived early August, and I was starting school the 17th. So I remember I had those 2 weeks, and I did get more information, and maybe that's why what I needed. And I remember at school, I went to see like all my teachers saying I'm the exchange student, and they didn't even know I was gonna be there. So maybe it's my experience that was like that. Then they knew it, and everything went really fine. So yeah, maybe a little bit more information when I arrived about the concrete things that would happen at school with the host family and all those little details about how it's going to go.
And do you like it written as a young person? Do you like it as video? I'm old, so I just assume young people like information in certain ways.
No, I think written is great, like an email or something, or maybe through WhatsApp. I remember I had a lot of information through WhatsApp. Um, that was great with me because it was also a little bit more personal than an email. So it was easy to ask questions and all of that. So it was a great one.
Laurel, how about you? How do you share information with all the different audiences you have to serve?
Well, text is great with our host families, the quickest. Some prefer email, but most pretty much once we're all connected and got the family set up, um, text is great. With students, when you jump right on to WhatsApp, if they have WhatsApp or Instagram, we can get them. Some students, like I said, sometimes we can't get them in the beginning, and some like they reach out immediately. So we can reach out to them if they haven't, and I try that. So probably WhatsApp's the biggest one. Instagram and WhatsApp.
That's great. To move on a little bit, so much of this process is really about trust. Trust between the families and the student, trust between the student's family and the program. Enza, could you talk about how you prepared to live with a completely new family in a completely new culture and how your family felt about this whole crazy experience?
Well, I how did I prepare myself? It was great to have my host family really early in the year because I was able to talk to them and video chat and do all of that to know more about what I was gonna do and how my life would be. So it was great to have that and communicate a lot. I think communication is really the biggest skill you can have, most important. And so that was really great. And then talking to students from Belgium who went there was really helpful because they were all happy about their experience, and it was just so great to hear everything they did and how it was. It was just like jumping into High School Musical.
Mhm.
Uh, it was a little bit like that. So that was great talking to people, I think, who lived the same experience. I'm talking to the host fat gonna experience the first one, so it was a big issue for them. So that was good. My family was really stressed about going to a country day because we've never there's I mean there. So and then the United States, I think we can hear about it. So the best, but like you said about trust and build this little trust those parents, and so we knew okay, and that was really helpful. Really, really helpful.
Thank you. And at least for me, your sound is a little in and out, Enza, just so you know, but it might just be on my end as well. Laurel, how about you? How do you build trust between all of the different audiences in this process?
Well, I find that communication is definitely the biggest. Making sure that I communicate. I let my host families know that if I don't respond right away, I do in-home counseling full time. So I won't answer if I'm with a client, of course, but I'll get right to them because I know, to me, it's very important that people communicate. So I get frustrated if it takes too long. So I really try. And same for the student and assure them that we're so excited they're coming and that we try to, pair them with a good family and that try to tell them a little bit more what we know about their family and about their school and their community, and just to let them know any questions. Don't be afraid. Ask anything you want, and just really, how excited we are. Just that communication. Whenever we have all that communication ahead of time, I think that really helps um, everybody involved: the host family, the student, the school. Um, and so, yeah, and the natural parents. So, of course, they have information so they know where their child is going and giving that assurance. So, one thing is maybe off the note here, but when I go to meet a family, I'm excited because I'm like, okay, this kid's over in this country and this family's here in this state, and I'm connecting them. And I tell the family and the student how exciting that is to just be the one to get to connect them together. So making sure that communication and that we're excited and that, we're available. Um, try to do the best I can at that. So
That's great. We know that not everything always goes the way we want it to. Um, Laurel, how do you address challenges when they arise? And are there any lessons that you've learned from having to address different challenges over time that you would like to share?
yes, this is my 21st year as a coordinator. Certainly had, some lessons learned and trying. I find, and I really try to do the approach that I'm there to support both the student and the family. And ultimately, the student is here for this experience. So no matter which direction it goes, I'm going to be there to support them. But I also live in this community, and this is a family that I've met maybe I didn't know before. So I want to treat them with respect. So we want to hear out each one and what the needs are, and that we're going to do what's best for them and the family and not leave anybody uncomfortable. Just encourage them, hear them out, and help them. Sometimes, many times, we've been able to work through things that we may not have been able to work through if we didn't come and sit down and talk about it and try to encourage them and be there in person to help work that out.
And how do you balance or encourage students to balance coming to you when problems arise versus talking with their host family when things arise? Have you gotten that level right, or how do you try to get that level right?
Sometimes I get it right. Sometimes I want to encourage them. I never want the student to feel like I'm like totally on the host family side. I don't want the host family to think I'm totally on the student side. It's not a side. I'm there to support them both. And so either one can come to me at any time. I encourage them to talk together. And sometimes, in the beginning, a student made me nervous. Like, how do I approach them? It's like, hey, just say, hey, can we talk? Or, hey, can I ask you a question? And then an intro always helps them to know what to say. Uh, they already kind of know what to say. So if they want to process it before they talk, we can do that. But encouraging, okay, I'm going to get back with you in a few days. Let me see how that went. And if I do, oh, I wanted to talk to him, but I couldn't find the time or I was too nervous, then it's like, hey, let's meet, we'll sit down, talk together, help them introduce that. But of course, building that communication with their host family is important. So I won't just do it for them or just let them talk to me. I want to encourage them and help them and invite them in that relationship. And the same thing, the host parent calls and I'm like, hey, sit down and talk to them. Maybe you don't know how to start it. Hey, we've been there, had a student getting us late every day for school and I was irritated and it took me a whole week to sit down and say, come on, you're going to have to, we can't be late, and this is the time the kitchen's going to close. You wouldn't do that to me. I'm like, yes. And next day she was late and bought lunch and breakfast at school. But the next after that, she was fine and we worked it out. But, not wanting to offend each other. I think that I find that where the student or the family, they don't want to offend. And honestly, if they're trying to work that out, I find that more appreciative than jumping to conclusions and judging, which we all can do. We're all human. So sometimes that makes it a little harder if the student's like, I just know that they're not, or they're, I was like, how do you know? Let's sit down and talk. The same with the family, like assuming, so as soon as we can get that connection, get them talking, um, the better. So me,
Do you give them prompt questions, or is there anything
yeah,
that yeah?
I'll give examples to say like, like if the student's like unsure of how to approach it, and it may depend on what country the student is from, or did they just get their host family? Did they get to communicate beforehand? I can just say, hey, here's a way you can start it, or just, at dinner, say, hey, can I talk to you after dinner? Or hey, I have a question, kind of a lead-in question where it's kind of open-ended to give the host parent a chance to respond. So that's not as scary as like, I'm upset about this and I don't, so asking for that clarification and same for the host parent, not assuming that the child is doing something that they there can be a misunderstanding. And so being understanding and maybe asking them, hey, how do you do this back home? Here's a situation. What do your parents do? What would your parents' advice be? And then here's what my advice would be. So that's a good opener for host parents. What would your natural parents' advice be? And sometimes it's different, but it's a good opener where they can start a dialogue.
That's great. So this one's for both of you, but I'm going to ask Enza first. How do you, or how did you separate challenges that came about because of cultural differences or differences in age or just personality from actual problems or actual areas of conflict? And I'm sure your host family was amazing, but I'm sure also that sometimes it wasn't as easy as you'd wanted. So Enza, how did you not distinguish between those two?
Well, didn't have a lot of problem for sure. So I think talking about it was um really leading to find a solution about a problem that I had personally. For example, at school, something was happening and I didn't know what to do. Um, Talking to someone, even if it was just a friend, hey, is this normal? Usually I do that, but here I think that it's a little different. So how can I do that and not um and not show disrespect to my host family, for example, because sometimes it happens. And it was really for both of us, my host family and me, it was really learning and enjoying all of that. So all the challenges we kind of went through together. Sometimes it happened with my parents here. For example, we did a trip and I needed documentation, and my parents were not really um, did not really want me to do the trip. So we talked about it and find solution for everybody to be comfortable with. So it was really communication about everything that's going on and expressing how we feel and how they feel then about it and moving on all together to have the best experience we can. So communication is really the most important, I would say, all of the time.
Laurel, how about you? How do you help families separate between cultural differences and actual challenges?
I think it's the same way, like encourage them to talk together because sometimes, I mean, it depends on the student because some students are willing to, even students I've hosted, how was school? Oh, and they'll tell me everything. And some it's like, well, ask a non-open-ended question, not a yes or no question, and checking in with your students. So encouraging host parents to check in, um, and students to bring it to their host parent as well, and seeing if it's like what would it be like back home if the same scenario, again to see if there's cultural because sometimes it can be something as little. I had a host boy, he was supposed to do the dishes, and host mom had asked him multiple times, and then we sat down and said, so tell me how your mom does the dishes. She washes them and puts them in the sink to dry. So he was actually doing them, the host mom put them in the drainer to dry. So sometimes it's little stuff like that, that's breaking the communication, but sometimes it might be a conflict at school or a confusion, and then maybe they're used to handling it or they're used to bringing it to their parents. So it really kind of depends on the dynamics, but just encourage check in, asking open-ended questions, checking on your student, and students, um, being willing to share how it's going at school, and come to their host parent. And if there's because sometimes they want, and that's natural, they want their natural parent to solve it, and they may have good advice, but they're across the ocean. And so I always tell the students, your host, certainly talk to your natural parents, but your host parent is here, local. They grew up here, or if not, here in America at least, and so they may have an answer for you and be able to help you. Whereas you may not think they can, but give them that opportunity. So don't just talk to your host parents, and don't just talk to your natural parents. Communicate and open-ended questions to get it started.
Always good. And just to draw it a little bit more on that, how do you begin people getting used to that culture of dialogue? Because sometimes just saying you should talk more doesn't
Yeah.
actually result in that.
Yes, that's true. And I've encouraged students. So sometimes they'll actually ask me like, well, I know I shouldn't stay in my room all the time, but what should I do? And come out and just sit and stare at them? It's like, well, no, just be a part. Like sometimes, even if you're in your room doing something, leave the door open unless, changing or need privacy, but still you're a part of the family. So they can easily approach you or you can approach them. If they're doing an activity, join them, interact with your host family and start building that relationship. So it is easier to connect if you are trying to make that connection.
That's great advice. And obviously, Bridge USA J1 programs are distinct in their real focus on not just study, but cultural exchange. And I was wondering for both of you if there were examples of really successful cultural exchange experiences or programs that you've seen, how they got organized, who did them. Not everybody's going to get to go to Disney World and Yellowstone and all of those great things, but Enzo, were there projects or activities your family did that really helped you learn about the US?
Well, yes, it really is little things, but about, for example, sports. They were really into sports, and we don't know baseball in Europe at all. It's a little things, but I remember we watched the Super Bowl, and they all told me the rules of the game and everything that's going on, and it's really little things like that. Cooking too. So my host mom is from Ohio, and then she moved to California, and she was all happy also to share that with someone because in California no one was really interested, and cooking and showing me how her mom used to do things, and then she asked me to do things from my country. So that was really a cultural exchange, really for both of us. So it really brings also communication and trust and this connection that is special between the host parent and the host student, I think. um or little things that I remember the very first day I arrived. I did not have any knife at the table, for example, and here we use knife everywhere. So I was like, can I have a knife? And then we made joke about it still now. So it's little differences like that in the moment, and it's helping. Or watching TV, what or the show you actually watch. We watch the news every day here. Do you do the same? Little things like that, about showing around in the town, really. Um, Doing things that are really American, like going to the drive-in. We didn't go to the drive-in, or going to little things like that, and visiting and exploring, and yeah, at school. School is a big one too.
I've never been to a drive-in, so I guess I'm not as American as I thought. Laurel, Laurel, how about you? How do you encourage those opportunities?
Well, we as a coordinator for our group collectively, we do a group activity once a month, and we invite all the host families to join us or send the kids or send their kids with them if they want to. And so the kids really connect. We do a lot of local activities, and it balances off. We can see them to do our reports, and we want to get to know them because we placed them and took all this time too. So, um, but also, some families can do more than others. So, unfortunately, we're all human. There's the comparison game that happens. And so that kind of balances out because we do the activities, they get to know each other. And so if one family can do more and one can do less, they still balance a little bit. And the kids get to see, we try to do some local stuff, not the things that are great things for the host families to take, like she was saying, local cultural things. We do some other things that are still local, but some stuff that maybe is good for a group, and encourage those activities and remind students, we have BLO travel. They want to do group. They want to go to another, some families can't travel, and students don't. I know when we hosted once or twice, we were able to go on a trip, but usually it was local stuff. So encouraging students that you're coming to experience this family's life as they live it, and the same the student, and sharing, like she said, it's fun to share your family culture and learning the students' family culture and then the culture within America in your sub community, in your community. And so just that connection and activities, and it doesn't have to be huge, it's just intentioned, like intention. Maybe there's a concert at the park. Maybe you want to share this lake that's really pretty and you're going to go out there and have a picnic, or, or there's a local activity going on. Just being involved with the student, I know, makes a difference, and showing that you want to share your community with them.
And would you have
Can I
advice
just,
for
oh,
local? Oh, please,
Oh
go
yeah.
ahead.
I just wanted to add something because I think it's really great, the whole group activities. I know a lot of friends of mine did it with other exchange students too, so they get to know they're not just alone. I didn't get to do that because it was really just me. And then I met other exchange students through sports at school, which was a different way to do it, but it was later in the year. So I think that is really great for to. I would have loved to do that with other, knowing that I'm not alone, also around for the first few days, a
Yeah.
little bit of support from other people. So yeah, I just wanted to say that it's a really good thing, and I heard a lot of people saying that it was great for them. So yeah.
And Laurel, not every local coordinator is close by their
Right.
host families. Do you have advice for folks who might be, what's the max, like 100 miles away or whatever the max radius is?
Well, I got my first ones a little further away this year, just because there's not a coordinator there. So we already talked about planning ahead of time. And we have done this in the past with ones that are a little further away. Like when we have a group activity, we'll plan ahead of time. Like if they can't bring the student, I'll get them when I get off work and just let them spend the night with myself or another coordinator, another host family that's closer. So we get them connected. And so it does make a difference. And I've had some repeat host families who have said, hey, my student didn't really want to join. Maybe they didn't know the other kids, they were being shy. He goes, I'm going to make them join this year because it just makes a difference. And once they start coming, and they don't have to come to every activity, but making sure we know we're volunteering our time for that and we're happy to do it, making sure they can come if it means coordinating a ride or getting them ourselves. But we make the calendar every year and make sure the kids and the students, I mean, so the students and the host families know when the activities are, and of course, we remind them as they come up and try to, do extra that we can to get them connected, even if they're a student that's further away.
That makes sense. And I think the more you can plan in advance, obviously, the more
Of
folks
course.
can anticipate. So the whole program obviously depends on international representatives who recruit the amazing young students, the sponsors, the local coordinators, the families, and the whole pipeline working together well and helping get everybody prepared. What do you, and Laurel, I'll start with you. What do you see as the distinct roles and the complementary roles of all of those different parts of the pipeline? And then Enza, as somebody who experienced getting passed through that pipeline, how do you see those different roles? But Laurel, let's start with you.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it starts obviously with our agents, getting the students. We try to review and know what students we have. So as I run into people, oh yeah, we have a student likes this or that. So being familiar with what students we have after the agents have gotten them and got the contract with our agency and what students we're trying to place um, and then our grants kids and all that coordination. So knowing who our students are and then working with our schools is very important, keeping that relationship. And communicating well with our schools and I mean thanking them for having the students to try to, I'm not always good at getting it on time. I have a stack here I got to send out thanking the schools for having our students, um, and keeping that open communication, so the school, the agent, the our staff, and then the support, us as coordinators, and then navigating in our community. So I always encourage the kids as well, you're ambassadors, of course, and you help guide the path for the next group. So like you have a good experience, you embrace it. The families are going to want to host again, and they can hear from other stories, and then schools are excited to have you. And so really each role is very pertinent, because we couldn't do it without the agents, we couldn't do it without our high school, operations, we couldn't do it certainly without the coordinators, but most of all, we couldn't do it without the families who come to host the students. But all those pieces have to be in place for the family to host. So communication with each part and, really the importance of what each part is doing for that student's experience. It's amazing when you think about it. You take one student and you have this many people in multiple ways helping that student have a great experience. So it's really neat to collaborate with each component, if you will, or each person involved in agency, and to help them have that great experience within, which then, of course, influences um, the whole thing. So the student themselves being able to come and share and learn. So all of those pieces in place are worth it and very important.
And you're right about especially the alum piece after the program was finished, as Enza said, to kind of feed back to everybody else. Enza, how about you? How did you see each of those roles as you moved through and some ways that they were well serving to you as a participant?
Yes, well, the process starts uh like I would say 2 years before we actually leave. Well, actually, that's here how we do it here in Belgium and with Information Planet. And the people helping to leave and to convince at the very beginning the parents, for example, to sell the program because we really want to do it, and then to have our parents wanting us to do it too. It really starts there, and then they really help us through the process to prepare every document we need, everything to get ready for the trip. We write a letter to the host family, and that's everything. We don't know what's going on the other side, but here it's really helpful for us students to get. Then we have an orientation with everybody. We meet all the students, so they're really playing an important role for us, and they stay through the whole the whole trip, the whole experience. um, so then the host family comes in because I got my local coordinators contact, but it was really important to text the family first, so I did so. And then the family really has, I think, one of the most important role too, because at the end of the day, it's just us in the same house, trying to build this experience. The school too, if I remember well, my host family chose the school in Vacaville, so it was more uh, my host parents communicating with the school than the local coordinator. If I remember well, it was 3 years ago already. And so yeah, everybody has a really important role, and they collaborate, they collaborate, sorry, all together, and that's the most important. um then the school does a lot once they know you're here, and they try to help you, everything going well, and trying to, as a student, do the more we can to have the best experience that we from what we imagine. um yeah, like I said, it's kind of like High School Musical. We think we're gonna go there, and then realize sometimes not. It's not really that, but it's fun to then communicate and share. Oh, we thought it was gonna be that, and communicate with everybody to know what's going on and how we can do things. And yeah.
And I love that you noted that there's a lot on the student too. The student has to be
Mm.
responsible for how they live and interact and take on responsibilities too.
Yes, definitely, because we are going somewhere we don't know, but that's, I really like to mention that it's an experience for the host family too, because sometimes it's the first time, sometimes it's not, but it's always important to, yes, to understand that for them, they didn't have the same student last year, the year before, and that they're also kind of sometimes I'd say uncomfortable with some situation. And we are young adults, we're 17, 18 sometimes. So it's important for us, I think, to be as responsible of what we do, and respect people. It's a whole learning also phase for us.
Excellent. All right, my last question for each of you, and Enzo, I'm going to start with you. What would you say to participants about why they should participate in the program, and what would you say to host families about why they should participate in the program? And Laurel, I'm going to ask you the same thing in just a minute.
So for student, I would say that it's the one of the best opportunity to learn a lot about yourself and open your mind to the world and your understanding of the world too. And if you are willing to, if you're curious about things, and if you want to meet people and try to understand everything that's going on, um, and about other culture, if you like to travel and see different places too and learn new culture, it's just the best experience you can have. It's gonna You're gonna have to go out of your comfort zone for sure, but then you learn so much that it's totally worth it. Um, and for host families, I'd say that it's helping for the student who's young and building his its own life too, because it's the beginning of everything, I'd say. So that they're gonna be an important um point in the student life. They're gonna be an experience they're gonna remember all of their lives, and that for them too, it's an experience about learning something new about a culture, and to open your heart and your house to someone is, I think, something that is just incredible and very, very magical.
Excellent. Laurel, what would you say to those two?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to jump right on that. We use that open your heart and home because really you are, you're not just physically opening your home, you're opening your heart. And I've told students sometimes when they're struggling, this is the most private relationship that people have is their family. And so opening their family to you and you being brave to come here and to learn and experience a new family and new culture and everything and share your family, it's huge. So never undermining how big that is really in for the student experiencing and the family experiencing. And so having just an amazing experience, you learn so much about yourself. We use a lot of idioms in the English language. So being aware of that, but even just why your family does something a certain way. Oh, wait, oh, the students are asking questions and then learning how they do it and how someone else does it. And it's such a growing experience. It's so rewarding. My husband likes to joke and tell people, well, she sells kids. I'm like, oh, no, no. I sell an experience. I encourage you into an experience. And what a life-changing experience it is and being able to have a student. And people will ask us too, hey, do you get paid for that? It's like, no, but we get paid in other ways that are just, I mean, they're money can't even put a price on. So just that experience of having a young person. And then it continues when they go home. We've stayed in touch with all 8 of our students that we've hosted, and now they're having kids. And so we have exchange grandkids. So it's a relationship that you gain children and you gain so much knowledge and just understanding and having the kid in your home. And for students coming, of course, I got the opportunity to go to Germany after high school, and it was an amazing experience. And so just opening your eyes to their culture and learning how other cultures interact. And I mean, sometimes it's exactly the same. You're all humans, no matter where you come from. But then there's nuances that are different. It's such a learning experience, and so convincing families that it's a great experience. We're here to support you, and students who are brave to come and they want to come and have that experience. And then also the students, they grow up so much. Like you learn and appreciate your culture, your country, your parents so much more being away. And so it's a rewarding experience in so many ways. And so just encouraging students to keep wanting to come and families wanting to host. And we always find families every year and we look everywhere that we can, but so it continues. And I do hope that everything continues and that you can't even fully describe the full experience until you've done it, um, both the student and the family.
Absolutely. And obviously families and students who are keen to get involved can always reach out to Capital, and we are very happy to connect you with members working on this program
Yeah,
throughout that whole pipeline. So anybody listening, if you'd like to host or if you'd like to be a student, come on down. Capital will be sure to get you connected with the right folks. And on that happy note, thank you so much, Laurel. Thank you, Enza. Thank you to our audience for listening today. I know you've inspired lots of other folks to come on into this program wherever they are in that pipeline. And I'm really grateful for all of your insights. This recording will be up on the Capital YouTube page soon, as well as some information on all of this wonderful key takeaways will be in the Capital member portal. So thanks to our speakers and thanks to our audience, and I hope everybody has a great rest of their day.
thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you.